Hello students. Today we are going to discuss about the next problem of our apparent subject of the third elective of your uh, uh, first elective of your third semester. Yesterday in my next last class I have done a problem, that is this one, that calculate the portfolio return and risk from the following information. The portfolio consists of equal weights x and y. Return on x and return on y has been given. The further five values has been given simultaneously. And also using the portfolio of 5 lakhs, he was asking us to calculate the VAR, that is value at risk, that is the maximum loss that the company can face from a portfolio of 95% confidence level. So I hope you all understood it, but I'm finding it difficult to understand who all are understanding the subject or not. So I'm like, if you have any doubts regarding problems or any formulas or any theory what I'm explaining, you can just call me in WhatsApp, or you can message me, or whatever it is. How you, if you want to connect to me, if you have any doubts and all, you just connect to me and clear your doubts. Okay, so I'm just moving like that only, because if it would have been an online class, I would have cleared your doubts also simultaneously, but just recording and sending you guys, it is difficult to me to understand how many of you are getting the problem and how many of you are not getting, right? So what I am going to do, I'm going to continue the problem as the problems. Let me explain you the next problem. Consider an investor had a $10 million portfolio in a long position. Suppose the confidence level is 95%, the actual daily standard deviation of a portfolio over 1 year trading is 3.67%. What is the daily VAR for a 1 month horizon? And what is the daily VAR of the portfolio, as well as what is the VAR for a 1 month horizon answer? So with this problem we are going to do, you all are familiar, the formula for VAR is what I have showed you in my last class is this: portfolio value into 95% confidence level into standard deviation. In our last question, he has not given you directly the standard deviation. That is the reason what we did is we have calculated all these formulas. Portfolio risk, this is what is standard deviation. So we have calculated each and every one of them. Coefficient was nothing but pxy. For finding out portfolio risk, we need standard deviation of x, standard deviation of y. Then using in the coefficient we need covariance, so we have calculated covariance, then coefficient, like that directly. Risk, that is what we have substituted and calculated the var value. But in this question he is not asking anything as such. He has directly given very simple as such, that is the portfolio value is $10 million and the confidence level is 95%. So the table value, that what I have said you in my previous slides, are this one. You need to check out this table values. This is the percentile that has been given, confidence level 90%. If it is, you need to take the value, quantile value as 1.282. If it is a 95% confidence level, you need to take the quantile value as 1.645. If it's a 99, 2.326 as such. So here, as such in the question, he has given you 95%, so you are going to take 1.645 as such. So that is what it is. Then the actual daily standard deviation of a portfolio of a 1 year trading year is 3.67. So your standard deviation he has given directly in the question as 3.67. You just need to substitute in the formula and get the answer. That's it. I'm just going to show you. Just let us write down the information that has been given. What he has given the information in the question. The portfolio value is that has given is $10 million. Okay. Then what he has given the information is confidence level is 95%. So you are going to take table value as 1.645. As such, I have just shown you the previous slide. Then your standard deviation he has given you 3.67. Standard deviation 3.67%, and he is asking us to calculate the VAR, okay, with the 1 month daily as well as the 1 month horizon as such. When he is saying a such thing, that means you need to calculate the formula for VAR is nothing but your portfolio value into 95% confidence level into the standard deviation. So your portfolio value in the question, as such above I have written $10 million, okay, 10 million into table value what we got above is 1.645 into standard deviation is 3.67. You just need to multiply all of them. You will get $6,03,715. Okay, so this is the maximum loss daily. This is nothing but daily. So it's about daily. Now if he says that in the question, he says the VAR of a 1 month horizon, he is talking about 1 month horizon is nothing but the period. So what you are going to do, the VAR formula now will be portfolio value into 95% into what you are going to do, you are going to square 30. Whenever he says 1 month or 6 months or something like that, you need to take those many days also under square root. Remember this. Into 3.67. If you substitute this all, $10 million into 1.645, that is nothing but the table value, into under root of 30. You are going to take same thing, just you need to calculate 3.67. you will get $33,683. 33,06,683. So here the maximum loss daily VAR, the maximum, that is nothing but VAR is nothing but the maximum loss that the company can bear, that will be measured. The risk that the company can face daily, that will be measured. So daily, one second, he was asking you daily asset, so we got a value of 6,03,750. When he said you the VAR of a 1 month, here he said you daily. So here you can check out. So what is the daily VAR as well as 1 month horizon he is asking. Daily VAR for a 1 month horizon. So daily you need to calculate, 1 month also you need to calculate. So that is what here. So we have calculated daily VAR 6,03,715 and your monthly VAR is 33,06,683 assets. This is the maximum loss that the company is going to face. So I hope it is clear, this one. So what I am going to do, one more problem I am going to just post in the group with the I want you to do the solution on this only. I'm going to give you this type of question, that is portfolio return and risk is going to ask you. So you need to calculate the correlation coefficient as well as the VAR also. Portfolio return, portfolio risk and VAR. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'll just show you this. Many problems are enough. This type of questions only will be asked. No way more variations will be there. So okay. So we'll be moving on to next problem, next topic. So the next topic of your second unit is back testing. It's related to VAR only. The basic difference between the stress testing, back testing and all here, what is happening, stress testing was what was stress testing? It was related to what is the stress levels of the company, what is the where we were finding out like what you remember the sensitivity, the scenario analysis only we have done under stress testing. So it was stress testing was mainly to identify the extreme events that the company is going to face, or could trigger the customized losses, that is the catastrophic losses, the harmful losses. So here backtesting is another one, where basically backtesting is a technique used to reconcile forecasted losses from VAR with actual losses at the end of the time horizon. Like here you are nothing but you are reconciling the losses that you have made. So basically backtesting is nothing but is to reconcile forecasted losses from VAR with actual losses at the end of the time horizon. Means it could be 1 day, 1 week, 1 month or quarter, or 6 months or 1 year as such. Anything it could be. So basically it is simply an historical test of accuracy of VAR model. VAR is nothing but the measure of maximum losses. The maximum loss that the company is going to face, that will be measured in the VAR model. Okay. So whereas backtesting is basically a historical test. It is just to test the accuracy, how far the VAR was good in identifying uh, in predicting the losses as such. That is nothing but it will be used in as a back testing as such. So to conduct back test, the bank what it does, it does the it compares the actual daily VAR over 1 year, about it could be 250 trading days. It compares the actual daily VAR outcome to its VAR estimate. So what is coming daily and the VAR prediction will be compared, and so basically here the reviews will be taken. So whether the decision what VAR has taken is proper or not. So basically it is a formal statistical tool that consists of verifying the actual loss, whether they are with the line of projected losses that the expectations were there. So this basically it what it involves, systematical it compares the history of VAR with their associated portfolio returns as such. So it is what it is. So basically it is nothing but review how far it was good, how far the VAR estimation was good. So actual VAR with the predicted VAR, it will be compared, and back testing is being done as such. I hope it is clear. It's just for 2 marks. Okay. The next one is measurement of risk when it is measured by VAR or CAR. So the measurement of risk when risk is measured by VAR or CAR. So we are going to discuss about VAR or CAR. VAR was nothing but the value at risk, whereas CAR is cash flow at risk. So VAR is like basically it was used to measure the maximum loss that the company is going to face, whereas CAR, cash flow at risk, is nothing but the the maximum shortfall of cash in the situation will be measured, was used to measure by using through CAR. So now Here we are going to talk about how we are going to measure risk when it is VAR or CAR. So here evaluating the organization risk by using VAR or CAR is very expensive because you know the organization should maximize its value and minimize its costs. So that sort of expenses should be maintained as such. So basically there are three ways which have been introduced for the organization to manage risk, that is the below return that have been written: reducing the cost of risk for a given level of VAR or CAR, reducing the risk through project choice, using derivatives and other financial instruments to reduce risk as such. So now basically the very first point we're going to discuss about reducing the cost of risk for a given level of VAR or CAR. So, if a financial organization faces more credit risk when there will be a drop in the value, and this will cause disappearance of customers, right? So, what happens, when there is a credit risk, when you are giving the credit to customers and they are taking your products and they disappear. So, what happens? The organization face more credit risk as such. So basically, credit risk is quite opposite to owner's capital because it is the capital as such. So owner's capital is always available as reserves to the customer, so as to cover up with the value of loss which has been occurred by the assets as such. Badding of the assets. Badding means the assets are not properly working and all. So here what happens, the VAR and CAR will be minimized in an organization if there will be a maximum amount of owner's capital. Minimized over here means maximum usage will not be there if there is a maximum amount of owner's capital itself over here in the organization. If you are maintaining as such, then it is very helpful for the organization. So the owner's capital play main role as it minimizes the risk by diminishing the whole loss occurred by the unfavorable outcomes. Because if you use the capital in the organization, your self organization, so you need not to take from anywhere outside. You yourself will have that money. So what you're going to do, the very first thing what he says, you reducing the cost of risk for a given level of VAR or CAR. If you use maximum yourself owners reserves only your capital itself, so you need not to worry as such, because the risk will be diminished by whole loss occurred by the unfavorable outcomes as such. So that is what it is. This is the one point that has to be looked after. That is the owner's capital. Next is minimizing the risk by project choice as such. So another tool which has been used for minimizing risk is opting the project choice, because managing the organization risk will be mostly expensive. So the organization can choose the project to minimize risk according to their convenience as such. So convenience over here means how the organization work is, how their business is accordingly. They are going to take efforts to minimize the risk. So the organization should not continue with the project with high risk and at the same time high profitability, but choose the project which does not give profit, as is this can minimize the risk as such. So here the right choice project. So if you are taking a project with high risk, so uh, you will have high profitability also and high losses also, huge losses also. So that is the reason in this case what is being suggested is organization should not continue with the project with high risk. At the same time it will have high profitability also, but mainly choose the project which does not give profit, as this can minimize the risk as such. So which does not give the profit means we need not to indulge into any very less profitable project, so that no risk also will be there simultaneously with those projects as well. This is another point that has been suggested for measuring the risk by CAR or VAR. Next is using derivatives and other financial instruments to reduce. So derivatives and another financial instruments over here means Basically, transaction cost, in derivatives is very less compared to another management risk techniques. So basically, derivatives is basically risk management instruments where risk will be transferred from the parties who don't want it to the parties who want it. So like old age pensioners, employees, and government employees will be there who just want what it comes to them. They'll not be more greedy, so that we want more returns. We will be facing the risk assets. They will not be in such a situation. The people who will be always like watchdogs, speculators, and all, they'll be watching the market and make the benefit accordingly. So such persons will be looking after these kind of things. Assets, derivatives, what it does is, if the people doesn't like the risky situation, so what a derivative does is locks the price. Suppose say that these people risk averse investors who are just opposing the risk assets. So what they does is they lock the price. This derivative, it locks the price, and further cash flow situation, all the risky things will be transferred to the risk oriented investors. These people will be speculators and all, who will be always watching the market like watchdogs and make the benefit accordingly and make the decision accordingly as such. So derivatives plays a very important role to reduce the risk also. By use of other financial instruments, the firm can minimize the risk that increase its value to reduce hedge risk. So to use another financial instruments over here means it could be n number of financial instruments are coming into the market, like mutual funds are there, like how they are subjected to market risk also simultaneously what it will be return. But simultaneously, the firm can minimize the risk that increase its value to reduce the hedge risk or design a new project as well. Thus, such a situation will be given. So, with this, we are done with this topic, measurement of risk when it is measured by VAR or CAR as such. The next topic is non-insurance methods of risk management. So let's discuss that also. Risk avoidance, loss control, risk retention, and risk transfer. These things we have learned in our first unit. That just we are going to discuss it again. Risk avoidance means not at all indulging into any activity, not doing any activity, not doing any business, so that we can avoid the risk. This is one way of managing the risk as such. Not at all indulging into any activity at all. Next is loss control. Loss control over here means loss control means you are going to check out over here loss frequency and loss severity. Loss frequency means the number of losses that the company is going to face. Severity means the quantity of losses that the company is going to face. That all the things will be measured under the risk management assets. So these two things will be covered under the risk management. The maximum loss that the company is going to face and the maximum loss that the overall is going to face assets. That will be measured under the loss control. I hope it is clear. Next one is risk retention. So basically what here it says, risk retention means how much percentage you have finished something and how much percentage you are left over with. So let's say I am percentage out of 100%, how much you are retaining with yourself, like risk it is. So we are not going to invest more money or to correct that mistakes or that risk as such. So just will keep it ideal so that it will people come and go. They will not look up those matters as such. That will be discussed in the that is what been discussed in the first unit. So I hope it is clear. So part of the investment will be projected and part of the investment will be predicted. Predicted over here means okay, hope it is clear. The part of the investment will be projected, part of the investment will be lighted as well. I hope it is clear. So how much percentage you are going to keep it with you, because you don't want to face unnecessary expenses of risk transfer to derivatives and all, and they cost over there some margin they are going to keep with us simultaneously. So instead of doing all those, what you're going to do, keep the risk with yourself only. So that it is one thing. The another one is risk transfer. Risk transfer means, as such you said, out of 100% you're going to transfer 50% and another 50% you're going to keep it yourself. So this is where it is risk transfer. Okay, I hope it is clear. Let's move on to the next topic of your FRM subject is asset liability management. This is very important for the long answer. Asset liability management, evolution, concept. These all need to be understood when you are doing the asset liability, when you are dealing with the asset liability management asset. So let's discuss about that. So ALM is the process involving decision making about the composition of assets and liabilities, including off-balance sheet items of the bank or financial institutions, and conducting the risk assessment as such. So decision meaning about the composition of assets and liabilities. You know what all assets and liabilities are. Assets are nothing but what the company possesses. Furniture, car, anything, it could be building, plant and machinery. Yeah, liabilities are nothing but what the company owe to others. They are liable to pay to others. It could be short-term advances that you have taken, or loans, or credit supply has been done to you. These all the things are nothing but the credit liabilities, right? Uh, so that composition should be there. Asset liability management should be there, so that without asset should not liability should not exceed a beyond limit, and assets also should be maintained in an moderate level in an organization. So basically, ALM is concerned with strategic management of balance sheet by giving due weightage to market risk, liquidity risk, interest rate risk, and currency risk. So why do we maintain this? Because ALM is basically, these are maintained mostly in banks as such. So their work is to maintain the balance sheet, that is the financial balance sheet, which final accounts will prepare at the end of the year as such. So here the main aim will be to take care of the market risk, liquidity risk, interest rate risk, and currency risk assets. That will be taken. That will be given a more importance asset, so that so basically it involves planning, directing, controlling the flow, level, mix, cost, yield of funds, right, of the bank's assets. So market risk means nothing but the risk arising out of the buying and selling of goods. It could be, or the stock market. Yeah. Liquidity risk means the easy conversion of anything into money, or money into anything asset. That need to be taken care. So it's basically involved decision making about the composition of assets and liabilities, including off balance sheet items also, and the conducting the research assessment assets. I hope it is clear to all of you. So why ALM is important, we are going to discuss in the next class slide. ALM involves planning, directing, controlling the flow level and mix cost of funds by the bank assets. So the main importance of ALM is asset liability management is globalization of financial markets. Globalization means it's nothing but globally it has been recognized as such. It is very important nowadays. Next is globalization of financial markets, deregulation of interest rates. So here it is, globalization of financial markets. Globalization of financial markets means it's in the market that you have been working well and you got so much well and practicing. So globalization of financial markets over here means asset liabilities that need to be taken care. Financial markets means over here regulators will be there, government bodies will be there who will be taking care by the team. So as the new products have been introduced, so you need to check out the harmony among the financial markets, that when you are introducing, when your market when your new launching has been done of financial markets of new countries as such, so then globalization plays a very important role, as well as this ALM services and all, actually very helpful while studying. Next is deregulation of interest rates. Deregulation means there is no rules and regulations as such for interest rate. So it's giving this the name. Okay. Next is interest rates are fluctuating directly. So rules and regulation need to be followed and decision made accordingly. Next is multi-currency balance sheet. Multi-currency balance, when you are dealing with 2 or 3 countries at a time. So what happened? You need to maintain that multi-currency balance sheets also. Regulatory environment, there are 5 regulatory bodies who will be looking after the return and risk. Those are that is multi-currency balance sheet also need to be maintained when you have main branch in one country and sub branches in another country. So then you need to prepare the college's balance sheets as such. So regulatory environment means over here integration of markets. Integration of markets means over here developed market. So integration of markets over here means we need to check out the markets as such, how they are working, how they are performing as such. That's another role of ALM. Next is regulatory environment. Regulatory environment over here Regulatory environment. Over here we are going to talk about the different organizations will have different regulatory bodies, like in a stock market and all will be taken care by RBI and SEBI, whereas financial institutions like NOCs and AS. So bank need to take after all the regulatory environment paper. So where regulatory means regulatory body who I'll just discuss you. SEBI is nothing but the regulatory body of this one. He has been an author, so when he's doing his work, this also belongs to him. He has to be more clear and as such. Okay. So the next one is I hope it is clear the regulatory environment. The next one is like evolution of ALM. Evolution of ALM over means is divided into two phases basically, pre-liberalization and post-liberalization. Pre-liberalization you can see over here. Very less competition in banking sector used to be there. Yes, obviously when there's a history, very less competition because nowadays everything is being done online. Every other work is being done online. Every small thing is being taken care by the online itself. So it's very competition nowadays in banking sector. So they mainly focus on asset management. Yes, on behalf of the customers also they do asset management. So it plays a very important role. Whereas post-liberalization, deregulation of interest rates to remove the interest rate fluctuation, no recognition of income or accrual dance, so that sort of thing has to be taken care. The main focus at the earlier period was to give the asset management, but whereas post liberalization, deregulation of interest rates over here means the regulatory bodies or interest rates thing has to be taken care, because interest rates, when you're crossing the borders, when you're doing the business internationally, when you're everything has to be taken care, like when you purchase the product in the stock market, you have to check out the interest rate, their policies, their rules and regulations and all, then you will be allowed to work. Otherwise you will not be recognized as such. Non-recognition of incomes on an accrual basis, non-recognition of things. So that has to be taken care, right? It's one thing, deregulation of interest rates, no recognition of income on an accrual basis. No recognition of income on an accrual basis over here means we have to recognize the income. Okay. Because when you're doing the work on business, you need to realize that it's bad assets. So over here, no recognition of incomes on accrual basis. So over here, income as such, accrual basis means not on a regular basis. So it will be given, revenues will be earned once in a while, 6 months or 1 year, something like that. That will be earned as such. So competition has to be taken care of. Right? So liberalization, that before the situation was like this, the banking sector was like there was not much competition, and main focus was only on the asset management. Whereas in post liberalization, they'll take care of interest rates, rules and regulations of interest rates and on how much it is fluctuating, how much not, how they are working and all. Then non-recognition of income on accrual basis. On accrual basis means on a due basis. Recognition of income will be taken place. High or balance sheet exposure is online items exposure will be there. How efficiently you do the work, that depends. And so with this, what I'm going to do, I'll wind up the class. I'll explain the next topic. I'll explain the next topic in my coming class. See you guys. Bye.